Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 3, Episode 9. I am here with my co-host, Chris Natalini.
Hey. What's going on?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone. Chris, how are you, fella?
I'm doing awesome, dude. How about yourself? How are you?
Pretty good. I called you fella. A little better than calling you guy. What's up, guy?
What's up, guy? What's up, feller?
Guy? With a little bit of point. What's up, guy? A little bit of point, but hey, what's up, fella? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm doing fantastic. It's good to hear that you're doing fantastic.
Yes.
Anything going on? Anything fantastic going on?
So we, as of right now, in this present day that we're recording this, we are slowly creeping into the fall weather. So I am kind of excited about that. Broke out my hoodies, make sure they were readily available. That's really kind of what I'm most looking forward to right now. You know, we're coming into the end of summer and we're starting the beginning of fall, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love the early fall weather for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I love the early fall weather. I don't like the fact that it starts getting darker earlier. That kind of
that's a whole other issue.
And I'm
not ready for that.
I mean, like within a month from now, it'll be dark, pitch, and the depression comes in, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But, you know, like we got the holidays coming. So see, I just kind of roll back to the holidays as often as I can. And like we were talking before we started taping today that, the season's going to kick in early. The world revolves around Hallmark, especially during the Christmas season. So they're starting in October. So am I. Am I. I need whatever I can, And if you listened last year and the year before, you know that Christmas is the way that it goes for me. So
That's right. We're definitely getting into your time of year.
Yes, this is my time of the year. I love it. All right, so tonight we're making a video. All right, So we're going to talk about what it is to decide for a band or an artist to make a video and how to go about doing it, probably on a fixed budget or no budget or whatever you have left in your pants and you're trading off from the back of your trunk to get that video done. And we're very fortunate because my guy on the other side, Chris, he just got done filming several videos for his new album, and they are top-notch. So we're going to let him roll with it first so he can talk about his experience, and then I'll talk about my experience as on a shoestring and in a guerrilla style. So let me ask you this. Let's go with a question first.
Okay.
What made you decide to do a video? Especially since, there is no MTV. Do you feel, or does your band feel that videos are still relevant to the overall package?
Yes, we did believe that. We have seen other bands, our peers, our friends, that we play with on the scene, that we surround ourselves with, do very successful videos. Obviously, Mick, you guys included. And, because you guys are a regular on the video scene, we just felt like it was time. We felt like with our new album coming out that it was time to kind of give people a visual aspect of what we do. In this day and age, I do think it's important because social media and visual entertainment is such a big part of music right now. Even though there is no MTV, you can spend hours and hours on YouTube just watching people and artists and bands from all around the world, have their videos and, discover new music and that way. So videos are definitely a big part of the visual part of being an artist and or a band. Yeah, it was just time, man. It was real. And when we talked about it in the very beginning stages, we were like, yeah, man, that'd be cool if we could do this. And then all of a sudden we found the guy that did ours through another band. He was also doing theirs, and we became friendly with him and we hit him up and we were like, listen, this is what we would like to do. And we can get more into that as this episode goes on. We had this idea and he was like, all right, we're going to give you an estimate of what it's about. And we shot it. And let me tell you, man, it is, I don't know, you and I have spoken off the air about it, and I'm sure you will give your advice on it. It is not the easiest thing in the world that I thought it would be, because you figure, shooting a video, you're just in front of a camera performing a song. But what they don't tell you is, at least me, I performed our first video. I probably did the song 4 or 5 times. And then our second video, I probably did it like 8. And then my drummer on the first video, he did the song 18 times because the way that our director had shot the video, you know, he wanted him in a lot of the shots. And so it's really taxing, man. It took a long time. I mean, we were doing it for hours and hours, and it's exhausting, you know, trying to perform when and really not perform. You know, it was kind of, you know, we had the music up loud and I was singing or screaming, not really. It was kind of very low under my breath, but you see the actions of it. You know, you're just trying to be you and do what you do to a record. And it is a little harder than I thought it was going to be. We did, you know, we did our first take. We did a dry run because we'd never done it before. So the director was like, all right, we're going to do this way. You know, let's do one dry one. I'm going to film you. I'll film the whole band doing it just so you kind of get a feel what we're looking at. We cranked that sucker up to 11 and we went for it. And when that song was over, we were just like, oh, wow, like this is going to be harder than we thought it was going to be. Only because you're performing, but you're not performing, and it's just hard. At least I can't speak for the rest of my guys, except for my drummer. I can definitely speak for him. But for me, it was hard. It was physically draining, especially the second video, which we can get into as the episode goes on.
Yeah, listen, it is more than you think it is. Because when you see the final cut, the final edit, like, you know, like whether it's our video or our favorite artist, you're like, wow, that's amazing. And that looks like fun. It looks, you know, it looks easy. It's like, man, they must have had one heck of a time. I want to do that all the time. But then when you realize when you're knee deep into it and you're there for hours and the light wasn't right or you missed your cue or, you know, especially if there's setup shots, you know, you're trying to create a certain thing. If there's some level of acting involved. I recall on our last video, 2 videos ago that we did when we filmed it, unfortunately, none of what we filmed that I'm going to talk about wound up in the video, but we spent about an hour walking back and forth towards the door to try to capture this certain, you know, this certain walk with a certain light at the certain point of the song, and we did it take after take after take. After a point, we just said, keep it rolling, we'll back up, start it again. Keep it rolling, back up, start it again. And we had to do it from several different angles. You know, had to do an ass shot, a front shot, a side shot, a low shot. After, you know, and that was just an hour, and that was just a pickup shot. Somebody goes, oh, at the last minute, that's, you know, and we wound up using none of it. Because it just, after a while, it just didn't fit. But, so, you know, you're there all day. So it is time consuming. Listen, it's fun. There is an element of excitement about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But it is a lot of work. I mean, setting up, if you're bringing your equipment, if it's just, you know, we had done some in the past where we were outdoors and there was no equipment. So, though we were battling elements, we didn't necessarily have to carry around equipment, which is another way to do things. But you're also at the mercy of the weather, of the elements. Unless you're paying big time in permits and blocking off areas, which most of us aren't, you know, you'll have to deal with, like they said in The Godfather, you know, pain in the ass innocent bystanders coming once in a while, you know, that kind of thing. But it is a lot of work, and if everyone's not on the same page, I mean, you're wasting time. You know what I mean? Like we said, when you're in the studio, you're wasting tape. It's the same kind of thing. You know, you want to capture something that's kind of authentic to the band. You want to have a little bit of that, some zest to it. And if you have to do it, like you said, 18, 25 times, 30 times, because there's tomfoolery going around or nobody's taking it seriously, that really kind of takes the wind out of the sails. If it's, you know, in a way that, hey, listen, I have to do it this many times because I'm trying to set up the shot so that when I do all the edits, in your recent videos, you got some sharp edits. So I could see the varying camera angles and the, you know, the style of shooting, you know, getting that camera just to where you want it, because if they're thinking ahead, which it looked like your director was, as they were shooting, they were setting up those shots one into another, already had an idea how they were going to go about cutting it up and putting it all together. Which brings me to the point, you know, like if you decide to do a video, fantastic. I agree with you. I think videos are still relevant, even though there isn't an MTV. It is a visual piece to your overall package, to the song. It's another element of the song, right? You have that recorded version that's always going to be on the album. Then you have that same recorded version, and in some cases there could be a slightly different version, like Van Halen's Jump. It was actually a different version than what you heard on the radio, right?
Right.
So it's not by much, just slightly, maybe it was a different edit, something like that. So the song takes on another life because you're giving it a visual element to it. When you hear it live, that's another version. If you do it in another format, like, acoustic or reggae or rap or whatever the case may be, there's a different format, so on and so forth. So once you have the notion, I'm going to go do it, the more thinking that you put into it prior to the day of shooting, the more efficient it's going to go, right? So you guys said, you said you guys kind of came up with this idea, you had a meeting with the filmmaker, and you said, this is what we're trying to accomplish. So he had an idea. It wasn't just necessarily, a free-for-all, which I'll admit, I've been involved in those, and they work just as well, too, especially if you're not sure what you're doing, especially in the early stages. You're like, hey, we need to shoot a video, let's figure this out. Sometimes there's some rough ideas that maybe only one of us has, and we're just kind of directing everybody else. In my case, that's kind of where usually it's at. This way, it's not muddled up too much. And then if there's some input, we kind of do it there and make some changes as we see fit. But usually there's a direction that we've gone with the album from begin with, so we're kind of keeping to that same theme. But the more you work out, again, if you're on a budget, the easier it's going to be for your time and your pocket, and you're going to see it streamlined a little bit more, especially if you're working with a filmmaker or a crew that really knows what they're doing. And as you would point out, and we talked about this off the air, it's really important that the band is on board in terms of everybody doing their part as needed. And sometimes the band serves, especially in the independent realm, the band sometimes serves as the crew. You know what I mean? They could be helping while one person is, like, say, while you're filming, somebody may be, hey, can you operate the lighting effects or, the smoke machine, or throw something at me like they did with Superman or something. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean?
This is Stephen Piercy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
Now, let's take it. You're on the set. You're doing your part. How are you feeling as an artist, as a singer in this new realm? For somebody that's brand new, somebody that's listening, brand new at shooting videos, they're like, okay, never really had a camera stuck in my face, but here's where I'm at.
Well, first, I will say this. I do think it's important, and we had talked about this in our recording episode in the very, very beginning. Obviously, going into a video prepared is, the best thing to do. Obviously, your plan may change once you're on set, or the director may have a better idea, or may go, listen, I understand what you're trying to do, or point you're trying to make, but let's do it this way because of this, because of A and B. And, you also have to be open-minded. So definitely go into making a video, have a plan set, what you're going to do, if you have some kind of storyline, how it's going to come across, and then talk it over with the director and go from there. But to answer your question, Mick, I was a little nervous, to be completely honest, because I didn't know what to expect. So we did the dry run, and the one thing that I'm super happy that I did, I said to our director, I said, hey, can I just take a quick look and see what you shot? Just so, because I just want to see what it looks like. And when he showed me what he had just done, I was just filled with excitement. My nerves were gone because I looked at this footage and went, wow, man, this is going to be way better than I could have ever imagined, just visually. So from that moment on, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. We let our guards down. We were a little more relaxed. And then, the performances were a lot more better because we were just way more relaxed. We really, really liked and enjoyed what we saw. We were really stoked about it. At that point, you're like, oh, I can't wait till this is completely done. So, yeah, to answer your question, I was way more relaxed once I got to see that footage. But then what happens is my work mode kicks in, right? I'm like, all right, now I got to go for it. I'm just going to go for it. So we did it, we did the song again. So what he did was he took us in sections. I would do the song a couple times with the entire band behind me. And then, he would cut off, and then he would have my guitar player, Dan. He would do it 2 or 3 times with my drummer in the background and maybe my bass player next to him. And then he just continued that way, and then he went in reverse once he got done with my drummer, and then we went backwards. So we end our last shot literally was one full band shot. But as your director sees you, unless you know him personally, which we didn't know, Eric, who was doing our video, we didn't really know him personally. He got to know us by our performance, and he kind of saw how we stood, what our attitude was, what we were trying to come across, and he'd be like, "Hey, Chris, on the next take, man, why don't you do this and bang your head this way, or look a certain way, or do this." And because I'm very animated with my hands, especially with the first video, because I had my mic in one hand and my other hand was free. And he was like, "You know what, man, let's do this. Why don't you put the microphone in this hand, and we're going to take it from this angle." And he just had different things that he wanted to do once he kind of learned what we were about and what we were aiming for. It was such a great and tiring experience. I don't know if that answered your question. I think it did.
Yeah. I've been fortunate over the years. I've done a number of them, and I don't get as nervous anymore. And I've gotten to the mindset that when I'm being shot for the video, whether I'm doing solos or I'm doing, with a group or something, I get a bubble kind of mentality, and it's me and the camera. That doesn't mean that I'm kissing the camera the whole time, but I'm performing for the camera. I'm maintaining a physical structure, a physical presence for the song, for the camera, so that we can achieve the best possible shot. One of the things that I try to do is not try to do anything that I don't normally do. In other words, because if you recall, there used to be videos in the 80s were hell for that. You'd have these guys doing things that were just like crazy. Like, how would they do that? And then you see them in live, and they're not doing anything like that at all. Right. And I understand that sometimes that's okay. You do a little bit of it here and there. But if it's like crazy stuff all the time, like if I started spinning the guitars around my neck and knocked out my drummer and stuff, that's not something that I would normally do. At least not in this band anymore. But I try to keep it as real as possible, but I'm a little bit more precise with it.
Yes.
Simply because, you're trying to catch that with the camera. And
you definitely don't want to be someone you're not.
If you have cameras that are moving back and forth, like they're doing multiple shots, to be honest with you, you're not always aware of which one's catching where you're at, because you can't be watching the camera as you're moving around and
right.
So you're playing to the room that you're in or the space that you're in, but you're in this bubble doing what you do for that camera angle, whatever angle that is. So because now over the past couple of years, we've been shooting with multiple cameras, which have helped us greatly to cut down on our time that we're there on set or whatever, because in recent years, what we've started doing is we've started renting out locations.
Right.
More or less private locations. This way we don't have to deal with any permits or anything of that nature. It's just, it's because permits mean more money. And, we just, again, being on the budget that we are independent, we try to maintain a certain, because we try to put more money or more time, more effort into the editing and then everything that follows. So that's not to say that we're shortchanging on the video production itself, but we found that with private locations, if we have to stretch the time out a little bit, it usually isn't an issue. Like last year, we rented out a Olympic-sized pool off someone's property that was emptied. It was empty. So we shot inside the pool in the middle of August. It was so hot down there. It was like being in the Grand Canyon. It was so unbelievably hot. We had rented it out for the afternoon, and then when we got there, all of a sudden there was a storm that was supposed to roll in. Everything that we were going to do just went to emergency mode. So we had to speed up and try to capture as much as we could. Now, that day, we were filming with 3 cameras, which saved us a lot of aggravation later. So we were able to capture more, and then we were able to get to the single shots. And like you said, we get to single playing shots for pickups, and then it would be maybe me with the drummer in the back, or James moving around, or whatever the case may be. So you have to work those things out, and like you said, sometimes even if you have the best intent, it just may not work day of filming.
Right.
And you have to be aware of that and say, okay, I have to change gears. Or if you're working with the director or producer or crew, they may suggest, hey, listen, we can kind of do this, but let's do it this way for the sake of whatever.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only paying by the hour and your hours all of a sudden go into days, well, then you may be running out of money. And again, it's not much different than being in the studio, right? Unless you're buying by the block, or if you're paying by the hour, whatever the case, you're paying somebody, paying something. So you want to maximize your results. Years ago, we did a lot of stuff that was guerrilla style, we called it. And basically, we would pick a location that we were interested in and say, hey, this had something interesting, or whatever. Well, let's go shoot there. Again, no permits, stuff like that. I remember we had all the equipment in the back of the car. We're kind of filming in this park, but far away under a bridge near a creek this way. So we did all the individual non-instrumentation shots that we could. It seemed the crowd died down. We go, all right, let's go get the equipment. So we took the equipment. We're dragging it across. We're placing it in. It's like rush shooting, right? Again, because I did it so many times, there's a bit of an excitement to that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to get caught, but at the same time, you're trying to maximize it so you're really on your game. You're you know what I mean? Like, like Frankie Fear sitting right next to you, and you're just kind of keeping the ball rolling. So there's some kind of excitement with that, and you can actually to me, I can actually see that in the video on some of the segments. I know our previous drummer, that always made him nervous, especially because he had more stuff to carry. He had to pick up. So we used to kind of do a truncated drum set for him in the event that he had to pick up and run. For me and James, it was easy. We just held on to the strap and just ran. And, nothing like running with a bass drum, a hi-hat, and a snare. It's not, not going to necessarily be the easiest thing. But that can be fun, too, and it's possible. Listen, there's some things you can get away with as long as you're not making a spectacle too much, and you're not destroying property, or you're getting too obscene or anything like that. I mean, again, these are just basic things that you would do, especially when you're out in public anyway. So, but I always enjoy doing videos, man. That I usually think through them, weeks ahead of time, and I write notes, and I always have a game plan, and I let the band in on the game plan, and in the event that I get a lot of feedback, well, why don't we do this or do that, or hey, Mick, I have this, maybe we can add this in. And we try to figure all that stuff out before the day of anymore. You know what I mean? We try to be more efficient. We've been lucky enough when we've been overseas. When we were in Germany, we filmed a video. And when we were in the UK last year, we actually filmed a video. When we were in the UK, unfortunately, when that was cut short because of the COVID pandemic, we weren't scheduled to shoot the video until later on in the tour, when we were actually arriving in London. Well, that didn't work out. We didn't even get any close to that. We didn't want to not shoot something, right? So our ego got in the way and go, well, hell, man, we're already here. It's just, So we got up early the last gig morning that we had, which our singer was not at all happy about. But we got up early, and I said, all right, listen, this is where we're at. We have no choice. So we're just going to film here. And what's the premise? There is no premise. The premise is we're filming in the UK. So
go.
and that's basically what we did. And then I picked up as much B footage as we possibly could. And again, we shot all this on our cell phone. And that's possible, especially nowadays. I mean, the cell phones that are today are better than the cameras that they used in the 50s and 60s to film some of the biggest movies of the time. The power,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy what you can do on your cell phone. So, and the video we did in Germany, they were shot on iPhones as well. Yeah. And that was a guerrilla shoot. We did 3 hours at the 2000 or 2002 World's Fair area, which is now it's abandoned, and it's part of like a walkway park, and there's, graffiti and stuff all there. And our hope was to be able to do something like that, and we found that we had a couple hours available, and, because we figured, well, we didn't get permits, and we don't speak the language, and we're not sure of the law here. that was kind of a guerrilla shoot, and it was a little nerve-wracking at times, especially being in another country. But we made the best of it, and you know, we picked areas that we could not, you know, basically hide what we were doing, so it didn't alert to anybody that all of a sudden there was the military police there, and then, you know, an international incident because the corner's a sanctuary. But it was, you know, you take advantage of that kind of stuff. And if you think through it, and again, like I said, if you maintain some proper mannerisms, you can probably get through, you know, especially if there's, you know, if you have no budget, you know what I mean? You're right. You find yourself, hey, I'm at this really cool place. Let me do something.
Yeah.
And even if that cool place is not you performing, it could be you just taking in the sights and the scenery.
Right.
And maybe just setting up just thinking of whether you use an iPhone or a real nice Android, whatever. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be an iPhone, but you could set that up with a timer, and it just has you moving around, sitting there, you know, I don't know. I mean, gazing off into the thing, but then that's how you put yourself in there. But you could film yourself, you just sing your song. You know, there's a lot of stuff you could do. I mean, and you and I had talked about this before, just personally, that, I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to videos. You can, nowadays, you can do them any way you want. I mean, years ago, when these lyric videos came out, I was like, who wants to watch a lyric? I don't understand. I couldn't get the allure of it. I was like, I'm not interested. Not interested in doing a lyric video. I don't watch lyric videos. They're stupid. You know, now I do lyric videos all the time. I found their value, especially when budgets are limited or non-existent, or if you need something quick and you cannot schedule anything, lyric videos come in handy really quick. 2020 proved that, because you couldn't get a location.
Right.
Couldn't get a location. Like last year, this year, earlier this year, we filmed in a Bounce U. And for those that don't know, that's like a Gymboree thing where they got the, you know, the big blow up bounce things, you know, you get it, you know, and you jump around, jump up and get down, that type of thing. And they have birthday parties. Well, we rented one out for a Saturday, and we filmed in there because it had everything that we needed. It had all the production value. It had its own special effects. That saved us a ton. Anyway, and then we could do a lot of things on the fly. A lot of the effects were done on the fly. The movie projection, the lights, the fog machine, the glow in the dark, you know, the flashes and stuff. That was all done because they had everything already set up in these rooms, which just, like, the production value of that just saved us so much time and effort. We didn't need a large crew like we did for the Olympic pool shoot, because we needed fog guys, several fan guys, lighting and certain effects and stuff like that, with running with the 3 cameras. It was a little bit more involved on the shoot day. But like, you know, last year you couldn't rent a place. You couldn't get a place because either places were closed or nobody was taking it. So lyric videos, for us, we used them as often as we could last year. And you can get creative with them. I mean, there's a lot of free footage out there that you can add to. Even production videos with the band, some stock footage has always been thrown in there to kind of add some spice. And that's, you know, the sky's the limit, man, whatever. People create their own cut edits, you know, with lights and a quick flash and the camera waves back and forth, whatever, and you cut that all up and you use some type of After Effects tools there, you know, on the programming. And, you know, you're amazed at what you can get. So it's definitely a vital piece. Like you had said, it's a vital visual piece. And like we talked about at the beginning of this season, you know, the music industry, there's always been a visual component to it. And that really rose to fame in the 80s with MTV. And it's becoming even, it seems, with TikTok and stuff like that. And you can check out Season 3, Episode 1. We talk about that. It's really become such a beneficial thing, because people are now scrolling with their eyes, not necessarily scrolling with the sound on. Right? And if they visually see something captivating, stunning, then they may turn the sound on. I'll be honest with you. There's times that I'm scrolling through YouTube, and YouTube has that thing, if you scroll and stop for a second, the video will start without no sound. I have found that I've watched entire videos with no sound. And I'll do that quite often, and I find it just as intriguing. So now, music-wise, that you sometimes I do it, it's funny. You should watch Sammy Hagar's videos without listening to the music. It's very odd. Like, you know what I mean? It's just some weird stuff. But anyway, and if you don't know the song, it's even weirder. It's kind of, it's kind of interesting. And then you go, well, let me hear this song. And then when you're hearing it and watching the video, it changes the way the video relates to you or affects you. It's kind of cool. It's just, it's a whole psychological thing. Anyway, my point is people scroll with their eyes primarily now. They don't need the sound on. So if they catch something, boom. However, with TikTok, there is scrolling with the sound. It's not like Facebook or YouTube, in a sense. Yeah. So the sound is on. So, again, your music is your music, but it's that visual captivation. And when you're scrolling by and all of a sudden you see Chris on a video, you stop. You go back. You turn the sound on.
You are listening to The Cosmic Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
It's interesting you said that because I never thought much about when the finished product for both of our videos were done. We had a discussion with our director about thumbnail, right? And for those of you who may not know what a thumbnail is, and Mick, you may be able to fill in the blank here because I'm going off the cuff here. It's just a picture that represents what you're about to watch, right? Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, like YouTube or Facebook will take a snapshot somewhere randomly in the video, and Facebook gives you 10 to choose from, or a custom that you can upload, and YouTube gives you 3 or a custom you can upload. And right. Like you said, that thumbnail can be very important. It can grab people's attention or not. And sometimes the clickbait on YouTube things, a lot of people complain about the hidden message in whatever, and all these things are circled and pointing and then, but you don't see any of that in the video. So it's very important. That's a very visual, captivating piece. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's true too, because I never thought about it. When I scroll through YouTube, that's kind of what draws me in. One of two things draw me in. And it's almost like back in the day when you and I were going to the mall and going to the record stores. We bought records by their cover, right? I mean, it's just what we did, whether, it was an 80s metal band like Rat, or whether it was like a super heavy metal band like Slayer, whatever it was. We usually bought records by what the album cover looked like, or the members of the band, depending on if the members were on the back cover, which back then, most of the day they were. So anyway, I never realized how much of that I took to my YouTube watching, but I do. If I don't let the video play like you do, when you just kind of stop on it and it plays after a couple seconds, the thumbnails they catch my eye depending on what it is. And when we had talked about thumbnails, our director was like, listen, trust me on this, these shots are going to be eye draws for our video. And for whatever reason, they're both me, which I didn't pick, but he did. But he saw something in his artistic eyes, in his video and directing. He saw something in those pictures that maybe he thought would attract people. And I say it like I understand now that I look at it, and now that I'm aware of like the thumbnails are a thing, because I didn't realize at the time. I just thought it was just someone put out a video and that's the graphic they picked. Little did I know that there's rhyme and reason behind it, and I didn't know that. Now I understand it. So, just like back in the day, picking out records, and you and I have found amazing bands that we still listen to today just by scrolling through the S category of our local, listening booth or Sam Goody. I mean, it's just how it was. And I find the thumbnails do the same thing for me all these years later.
I mean, again, it goes back to, we are a visual society, right? I mean, if it stimulates us there, we can sometimes, and we talked about this again in that episode, that it may not be that great listening wise, but there's something visually that just keeps bringing us back. Bringing us back. Now that holds true for the other two. I mean, sometimes there isn't a lot going on, say, on stage, but listening wise, it's unbelievable. If you think about it, prior to MTV, most people had to visualize in their head when they were listening to their albums, right? Guys would, in the 70s, they would take candles and put them in the middle of their record player as it went around with Stairway to Heaven for the 18th time lit, and you're just watching and then your eyes are going, and it was part of the visual, right? I mean, that had nothing to do with the band, but there was a visual being created, an atmosphere, a mood, right? that the music puts you in. MTV pretty much changed all that. Well, I mean, TV changed that, but of course, right, as you started seeing a lot more of your favorite artists in the late 60s and 70s, early 80s, until MTV, and then you could catch them all the time, or at least, you know, the more mainstream type artists. And it started putting a huge emphasis on, because we talked about this before, there were some early videos that came out that, you know, artists weren't prepared for. Their look maybe wasn't as good as you thought it would be when you're seeing it over and over again. And as you know, and as the decade started to take shape and massage itself, those looks started to get massaged as well and started to improve, because, you know, there was a fine line between rock star and movie actor, right? One wanted to be especially in the 80s, one wanted to be the other all the time, and there was a lot of actors who were being in videos, and, you know, and musicians who were being in movies, and back and forth. So the look became even more of a thing, and that, like you said, it just carried over, you know. And if that's kind of how you built your psyche growing up, it's pretty much still there.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is like, if you think about it, like, thumbnails definitely, you know, that's why people usually use, sometimes, like, again, the thumbnail has nothing to do with whatever. It's just, you know, what they call clickbait. They're trying to get people to think.
Right.
They'll use pretty girls barely with any clothes, or some kind of crazy image of sorts, you know. But, like, for us, that single image, like you said, is a drawing point, because we're used to seeing albums.
Yeah.
Now, with some of these moving, like I said, like, you can go through and some of the videos are already playing, or they're already moving. With Facebook, there'll be a thumbnail, but if you scroll past it, like, if you're scrolling up to it, the video is actually starting to move even before you catch that. Sometimes you don't even catch the thumbnail until you're just about past it, right? And it comes back, and then it starts again, comes back. So today's world is more of a moving visual. That's why TikTok is unbelievably popular.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you'll get a video that goes, you know, viral with 1 million, and then the next one only does 20, and then the next one does a couple hundred, and then you're back up to 10 million again. So it's kind of weird on what causes people to stop, but it's definite that it is a moving visual. So with that in mind, a video of sorts, of any sorts, is key, in my opinion. And I found that for our type of music, you know, the harder stuff, the heavier stuff, the fast cuts, the quick cuts, is much more appropriate and keeps people's attention a lot more. And you had said you were surprised at the images that they picked for the thumbnail, but in reality, what is the draw to most bands? It's the lead singer. Whether that lead singer plays an instrument or doesn't play an instrument, that is usually the attention, right? The center of the audience focus. And and that's what should be, in a sense, you know, used as a thumbnail, in my opinion, especially for most bands, or the singer with the band somewhere, you know, especially if you have a couple members who are of a high notoriety. Like, say, again, like let's use Van Halen at the time. You know, you had David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen. Though, you know, David was the spectacle view, you know, Eddie had a cult following all his own, in a sense, right? So you could afford to have both of them in there. There was actually, you know what I mean? They were very recognizable, and it's very recognizable, like, you know, with Kiss as well, simply because of the makeup, you know. So. Yeah, you know, I mean, having the picture of your drummer's rear end from the stool level may not work, right? I mean, because you may scroll by it and not even realize what it is. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So, you know, I think that's a good thing. When we had some members change over the years, I wound up changing some of the thumbnails later on, where they were just card plates, and they had the band's logo and the name and what album it was from and the picture of the album, and I left it at that, because, you know, sometimes, like Spotify and Amazon, like when they start streaming to YouTube and all, that's what comes up, the album, you know, stuff like that. So I had done the same thing with them to see how they would go, and you know, and they seem to do. Again, if someone's looking for that album or recognizes that album and or the logo, then it kind of works. When you don't know and you're not sure, people may miss that.
Yes.
So as you can see, like with a lot of YouTuber channels, oftentimes there's the YouTuber themselves on that thumbnail, and then maybe a collage of who they're talking about or what they're talking about, and some heavy text so you can immediately pick up, a couple words. You may not have to read the whole thing, but a couple words to kind of know what's going on. And they're usually custom ones that they're put together, where the one that you were talking about was taken right from the video
right
itself.
From the shot.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that you could, again, you can go into, so you shot your video, say you did it yourself, or you've used a production crew, Now you have the choice of, do I edit it myself with at-home software, or do I have someone else edit it? In my case, we've always edited most of the videos ourselves.
Right.
We've had a couple videos that were done by outside sources, and there's something sometimes always sometimes you got to sacrifice. You got to, all right, we'll take that. It may not be 100% of what you were looking to do or get, but again, if there's a cost involved, how much are you willing to spend? Like, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Right.
Nowadays, there is so much software available, and again, this choice is yours. I'm just making it, using it as a forum to give you, hey, you can do whatever you want. There's high-end programs, there's middle-end programs, there's low-end programs that you can pay for, and then there's a ton of free stuff that's just as good. And they have, every 6 months or so, they release lists on the internet. Just Google, 2021's top 10 best free video editing software, and you'll get the pros and cons, and you'll sometimes get comparisons to how they compare to Final Cut or Premiere, Adobe's Premiere, and what the pros are using and what other people are using. And I think I'm a firm believer you do as much as you can for yourself. You save money, you learn the ropes, you get good at it. This way you know exactly what you want when you want it, and then you can do it anytime you want. You can once you got it, it's repeatable, and you know how powerful you are at that point, especially as an indie artist. I realized, hey, I didn't get into writing music to be a filmmaker. Well, I get that, but there's some things that you may have to to consider at that point. And if you didn't have any effects while you were filming, you have the opportunity to add effects afterwards. There's a lot of different plugins and additional software programs that you can use to add in the lightning or the quick cut edit type of flashes, or I'm sure there's probably going to be some kind of filter that puts in where you can put Chris in your video all the time. I'm sure that'll be up, available on his site before the end of the year, so stay tuned. Keep an eye out, because it may show up. Check him out on his Facebook page. So
I think too, it's important, in our case, we kind of liked the aspect of the guy who was filming us and editing us. I mean, listen, to be completely honest, when we told him what song we were doing, he knew that song like the back of his hand. Like, he literally because our first video we shot in our rehearsal studio, and he literally came in, and he's a drummer by trade. He literally came in and played the song, half the song on drums, just by, we were just kind of taking a break and goofing off. And, he knew the song. He knew where the riffs were. He knew where the vocal lines were. Like, he knew that song with the back of his hand. So we kind of let him have free reign with editing. With that being said, also, too, we kind of liked that someone didn't really know us have a shot at what we were trying to bring across. And obviously, we're very pleased with it. But like you and I had said before, you're the best representative of what your band is. What you guys are trying to accomplish, what you're trying to bring across. So if you can edit, and if it's something you're willing to do, then I would say yes, for sure. But in our case, we had the pleasure of we took a chance, and we trusted the person that did our video, even though he really didn't know us. He just kind of knew what we were trying to bring across. And mind you, we had seen some of his other work, so we knew what he was capable of doing. But there's, again, like doing it yourself, there's nothing better than doing it yourself, because you know how you want to be portrayed in your band.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, using a third party or second party, however you want to look at it, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, sometimes there's that professionalism that is maintained, and you get a quality product because it's not in their best interest to give you a not quality product, right? And that's what you're paying for. So there's some positivity to that as well. I'm not saying that. I mean, if you have the opportunity, please do so, right? If you have the means and the capability, the less stress you can, give yourself is a plus. I'm a firm believer. I'm a workaholic too. I like to be involved in that kind of stuff. There's a sense of an accomplishment that I'm learning and getting better, and that I have something invested in it as well. But there's things that we've, we talked about in the first season. We used to do everything in one studio from beginning to end. We decided that wasn't the way that we should be going. We needed some fresh ears and new perspectives that weren't involved in the entire process. So now we'll use multiple studios and multiple engineers and/or producers for different areas or aspects of the project, whether it's pre-production or post-production, and sometimes when we've redone a song, or we'll use somebody new to and I mean, so there's a definite benefit in that. Like you said, there's a good perspective, and any professional that's coming in, they may not know you or know your material like you know it. If they're going to work with something, whether it's an engineer, a producer, a director, whatever, they're going to get familiar because they want to do the best that they can possibly do for what you're paying them for. So, you know, and I think that most videos, it's important that there's a flow to the video. There's definitely a start and a middle and an end, and it feels that way for the viewer, right? So, I mean, I think that, to me, it's very important. It's like a book. It's like a movie. It's a mini movie. It's like your song. It follows that, whether it's that theme, that continuity, that flow. It's very important. I like that. Me personally, I do a lot of edits on the beat, right? Because you can create a lot of effects there. And again, with our type of music, that happens. A lot of visual stimulation happens on those beats. So drummers are more important than the bass player, likes to let on. But anyway. You know what I mean? So maybe that shot of the drummer from behind, from the stool level, maybe it is important. I don't know. I mean, I'll have to go back and think about it. But there's just so much stuff that you can do. You just have to be open to do it. And I think if you have the idea and that's something you want to do as a band or an artist, I say you do it. And don't worry about knocking it out of the park the first time. Our first few videos, at least with Corners of Sanctuary, what we thought may have been good, it wasn't so great, I mean, because we were stiff, or certain members were stiff. I remember somebody had said something to us, and like, oh, it's, they look stiff on film, and all, they're watching the video, and I didn't agree, but, then there was all this negative stuff, and James goes, we like to see how you operate when a camera's being poked at your face for about 6 hours. It can be nerve-wracking, for sure.
It is, man, because you're not, it's a performance video, right? But you're not live on stage. You're not doing your normal thing. Like, you're kind of acting out what you would normally do on stage with a camera shoved in your face for, 6-7 hours.
With expectations,
It's I found it very nerve-wracking that, once I found out what it was going to look like, I was a little more relaxed, but I was in work mode, man. It was not easy, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot. It's involved. It's involved, and it can be taxing. But at the end, it is an accomplishment.
Oh,
and it's pretty cool because, as many videos as there are out there, there's still a lot of bands that don't do them.
Right.
Or haven't figured out how to get them done. So, but I think it's achievable for everyone. And I think I'd say give it a shot, I mean, there's a lot more that we could get into about how to make a video and all that. I mean, there's a lot of conceptual things, and you can get into technical things as well. But this was kind of more of a top coat saying, hey, listen, it's achievable. Here's some experiences from two guys in the booth. And, we thought this was a good idea, especially with Chris recently releasing really two great videos, great-looking videos. So if you haven't seen them, check them out. What's capable now with the digital quality, it's, even in a minuscule budget, you could probably still get something that's pretty stellar. So, so give it a shot. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, man, I think we pretty much got it all.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. So if you like what you heard here, check us out at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This is The Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmicvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
Okay, folks, that will do it for another episode of The Cosmic Voice. Mick and I would like to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.